You ever have one of those days where everything feels normal with the Dolphins, until you take a second look and realize something big is moving under the surface? That's exactly what today is. There's a matchup that could turn into a straight-up dominance lab, a storyline that could blow up at any moment, and an internal warning that, if this franchise ignores it, we're setting ourselves up to relive 2025 in the most painful way possible. And the wild part is, all three are connected. You're not ready for what's on the table today. So get comfortable, hit that like button, and let's get right into it. But I gotta ask you first, do you still trust the plan? There are games you look at and think, alright, just another week on the schedule. But this one against Tampa smells different. When an offense finally gets healthy, real threats in the air and on the ground, you expect fireworks, right? A shootout. But even with Mike Evans out there, even with Bucky Irving available, the Bucs' offense still stalls out at the weirdest times. One drive flows, the next one dies, third down turns into panic mode. And that's the question I want you to sit with. If the talent is there, why does the engine keep sputtering? The clue is right in the middle, literally. Tampa's interior offensive line has turned into the weak spot nobody can really hide anymore. And for us, that's a rare opportunity, because our interior defensive line is young, but it's starting to find an identity. Zach Sealer, who looked quiet early in the year, is getting back to being that annoying guy to block, winning with movement, timing, and those crafty stunts. Add hungry young dudes trying to carve out a role, Kenneth Grant, Jordan Phillips, Zeke Biggers, and you get a dangerous mix. Energy plus mental chaos for the opponent. Here's the detail that can flip this game. The Bucs are patching things together inside. To guards that don't inspire much confidence, a center whose play has dipped, and a quarterback who speeds up when pressure comes straight through a gap. Baker Mayfield is tough, no doubt, but he's not magic. When the middle collapses, he can't step up, and the deep ball turns into a coin flip. Picture third and long, Dolphins send a loop, someone comes free, and the whole drive dies while Hard Rock Stadium goes nuts. But it's not automatic. If Biggers and the rest can't shed blocks with authority, we turn into a defense that just leans on guys and watches the run go by. That's the test. Win one-on-one, and more than that, win mentally. Because Tampa's only counter is being smarter with angles and timing to make up for a lack of talent inside. If Miami stays disciplined and aggressive, this game can be decided right up the gut, and that changes the tone for the rest of the season. Now there's a conversation every fan tries to dodge when all you want to do is enjoy football. It's not about the next game or a specific matchup. It cuts straight into identity, into the future, into who we really are as a franchise. And the worst part is, it doesn't disappear with a win on Sunday. It just sits there, buzzing, waiting for a bad interception, one extra hit, or even a locker room rumor to turn into a firestorm. But today, some real information dropped from legit league sources, and that changes the weight of it. This isn't timeline speculation. This is a message. We're talking about the Tua Tagovailoa dilemma and what could happen if Miami seriously decides to pull the plug after 2025. Jeremy Fowler from ESPN shared some behind-the-scenes perspective. That's brutal but revealing. A personnel evaluator basically outlined the kind of team that would even consider betting on Tua. The logic is simple and ruthless. Cold weather, windy outdoor games, not much patience. Warm weather or a dome, quick passing, heavy play action, then maybe you can make it work for a year. That's the knife twist. It's not just about talent, it's about context, health, and environment. And here's the real problem for the Dolphins. How do you trade a quarterback with a big contract without eating a chunk of the money? If Miami wants a trade, someone has to accept both the cost and the risk. When you look at the teams that even make sense under that logic, Cardinals, Colts, Raiders, Vikings, it turns into a puzzle. Minnesota is projected to be over the cap for 2026, which basically kills that idea. The Raiders, on the other hand, could have over $100 million in cap space, and that flips the whole board. Arizona sits in the middle with Kyler Murray and committed money. And Indy has the uncertainty of Daniel Jones coming off a serious injury. If Miami just cuts to outright, though, that's a whole different world. The contract stops being an anchor, and suddenly he's much cheaper for any team. That's where you even hear whispers like the 49ers as a backup option, depending on what they do with Mac Jones. In other words, this franchise could be staring at a decision that isn't just about 2026. It's about how to reset without turning the off-season into a circus and dragging distractions everywhere. And while we're still trying to wrap our heads around that, there's a third layer internal. That explains why 2025 started so sideways and why rushing decisions could just repeat the disaster. You know, what's more frustrating than losing? Losing the same way over and over, then being told it was just little things. This time, someone on the inside said it in a way that sounded like a confession. When a defensive coordinator admits a construction mistake, that's not just venting, it's a warning for the next regime. Because there were stretches in 2025 where this defense looked alive, aggressive, connected, and other stretches where it felt like everyone met in the parking lot before kickoff. That's not fan paranoia. There's a reason. Anthony Weaver basically said Miami can't repeat the same mistake, changing too much at once. He flat out admitted the defense needed to be put together earlier, with guys practicing together sooner. Instead, players arrived late, arrived banged up, or missed chunks of camp. The development that should have happened in July and August ended up happening in real games that counted. And now you understand why the start of the season was a nightmare. The numbers back it up. Weeks 1 through 4, the defense ranked near the bottom of the league. From week 5 on, the overall performance jumps to a much more respectable level, around the middle of the pack. Even more telling, against teams with winning records since week 5, Miami ranks among the better defenses in efficiency per game. That matters, because it kills the lazy narrative that they only beat up on bad teams. There were adjustments, there was learning, there was growth, it just came too late. So, who gets the bill? We've strongly hinted that roster construction logistics undercut the coaching staff. Minkah Fitzpatrick, Jack Jones and Russell Douglas became some of the team's best defenders, but Fitzpatrick was the only one on the roster before training camp. The others arrived late, with no off-season reps, no built-in communication. Want tight coverage and clean communication? You pay for the lack of it with points on the board. And yes, there are still roster issues. The pass rush didn't deliver, the safety play beyond Minkah was shaky. Tyrel Dodson left gaps at times. Weaver even owned the disaster against the Bengals. Giving up 45 points is indefensible. But the bigger message is clear. The next front office cannot try to fix the plane mid-flight again. If they do, we'll start 2026 playing catch-up all over again. When you put that together with the pressure for immediate results and the quarterback drama, the question becomes unavoidable. Is Miami going to learn from 2025? Or are we about to repeat the same mistake with a different coat of paint? That's how today lays out Miami's future in 3 layers. On Sunday, a real chance to crush the Bucs' soft interior and turn pressure into a win. Behind the scenes, the tour saga taking on real shape, with possible destinations and financial weight that could decide everything. And over all of it, Weaver's warning, you can't rebuild on the fly and expect the defense to magically click without paying a price. Now I want to hear from you. What's more urgent, fixing the quarterback situation or locking in the defense with a real plan? Drop a like, subscribe and let it fly in the comments.